Kinnah 17 Yud Zayin in Tochalna Nashim Piryam. Another Kinnah whose authorship is attributed to Rabbi Elazar Kalir. This Kinnah focuses on the pasuk in Eicha in the second parak, pasuk Chaf. Re'eh Hashem habita lemi olal toko. Look, Hashem, behold, to whom you have done such things. In tochalna nashim piryam olalei tipuchim. If women will eat their children, their fruits, im yiharei b'mikdash Hashem kohen v'navi. If in the mikdash of Hashem, the kohen and navi will be killed. The Kinnah is comprised of two sections, the first of which, the bigger of the two sections, follows an aleph bet structure in tochalna, tivashelna, tigozna, followed by a second part of the Kinnah, which is an epilogue of sorts. This Kinnah follows last, Zechor asher asot tsar bifnim. That Kinnah focused on what others perpetrated, the primary victim of the previous Kinnah being Kvod Shamayim. Here, the focus of our Kinnah is us as the victims and the horrors that our people endured during the Churban, by extension throughout history. The utterly revolting human suffering. The Kinnah refers to unconscionable horrors as described by Chazal in Gemaras and Midrashim, focused mostly on children, and of course, very graphically, women being forced to eat their own children with chilling excitement. Its natural order overturned. The Medrash and the Gemara tell the story of Doeg ben Yosef, who left over a small child, an orphan. In the Gemara, the name of the child was Doeg ben Yosef, whose mother would measure him every year to see how much he had grown. And she'd measure by tefach, and that's what Chazal attribute to the pasuk that we are reading in Eicha Alulei Tipuchim, not just tipuach in terms of care, but tefach. She would measure the tefach, and each year, based on his growth, she would donate a corresponding amount of gold to the Mikdash. And she, in the end, was left to excitedly consuming that buried child that she loved so much. Almost a cruel play on the word from tipuach to tefach to tevach, to slaughter. And that first part of the Kinnah that we read describes in chilling graphic detail so much horrible human suffering. But the second half of the second part of the Kinnah turns the message on its head and flips the emotional weight onto us. The end of the pasuk, as Chazal understand it, of Im Yehareg b'mikdash Hashem kohen v'navi, refers to what we read about in Divrei Hayamim Bet, about the killing by Klal Yisrael of the Navi Zechariah ben Yehoyada on Yom Kippur, who was killed for giving Musar to Klal Yisrael. And suddenly, the first half of the Kinnah, where we describe our suffering, is being shown as hypocrisy. We focused on our suffering, but we didn't concern ourselves with what caused the suffering, with what we did, with what we perpetrated. Children suffered because of what we the adults did. We fail to acknowledge that our suffering comes as a result of our actions. And our actions are the ultimate insult and insensitivity to Kvod Shamayim that we read about previously in previous Kinnahs. This Kinnah bridges between the mourning for what has happened And for us to sit, as we know, Rabbi Soloveitchik explained that we start on Tisha B'Av in abject mourning, not even being able to ask the difficult questions, the most difficult questions, but simply mourning. And beginning to grapple with why did such things happen? And then moving on, as we'll move on to the next Kinnah and future Kinnahs, to the themes of Tziduk Hadin and eventually to Tshuva. To merely mourn the suffering by the hands of another may in some way be easier, but we also must not hide from self-realization and accepting responsibility, and to begin to see beyond victimhood and to be stirred to change.